This week's tip is about how to do double increases. And there are a couple of different ways to do it. And one way is to do double yarn overs. Now, frequently you see these in buttonholes or in lace where you want to have a hole, and then you'd be doing decreases to keep your stitch count the same, but you can see that they can be used for increases. This is one where you work into the front and the back of the stitch. This is one where you work a left slanting M1 and then a right slanting M1. This is where you work a right slanting and then a left slanting. Now on this little swatch, and I'm going to have these labeled in much bigger pictures in my actual blog, rendaholiday.com. These are ones where you work the increases on either side of a stitch. So there's a stitch in here, I'm working an increase on both sides. This is a central double increase. In this instance, I am working the increase using lifted increases in one stitch, and these two are ones where I've worked them with M1s slanting in opposite directions. Now this variety of increase works best on an odd number of stitches because you're going to be using one of the stitches for the increases. On this other one, it works best on an even number because you're placing them between two stitches. So I've cast on enough stitches to make the 3 yarn over buttonholes at one time, and I'm going to knit my 3 and do a yarn over. Now you can do this on the wrong side as well. It doesn't really matter which side you make the yarn overs. You can make them on the right side or the wrong side, and then work them on the right side or wrong side. And I work to the end, and I've got the places for the yarn overs. Now on the first one, I'm going to work it the way that most directions will tell you to deal with a double yarn over. And because I'm purling, I'm going to work these purlwise. I could work them knitwise, but I can just as easily work them purlwise. Now notice I've got a yarn over here and a yarn over here, and I'm going to purl into that first yarn over and drop it, and I've still got a yarn over on my needle, and I'm going to purl into it. And I could be knitting or doing a combination of knit and purl, it doesn't really matter. And we'll see what this looks like on the other side. Now in this one, what I'm going to do, notice that I have my double yarn overs here, and this one kind of looks like when you bring the yarn up for an M1. This looks like a left slanting M1, so let's work it that way. And it's actually the same as just working into the needle. But in this case, if I went ahead and worked this, would be 2 left-handed left slanting M1s, which is really what I did over here. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to have it be a right slanting M1. And let's reverse that out on the next one. I'm going to go here and do a right slanting. It's set up for a left, so I'm going to take it off. And don't let that, that I've got a big old yarn over here, bother you. Okay, I'm going to pull that one off. That's a right slanting. Now I'm going to go over here and do a left slanting. Hey, George. He's coming over to see what trouble he can get into. And there I've worked all my stitches. Now, as I work the next row, we'll be able to see what these look like. This is the one where I did the right and then the left. And notice I've got a right slanting one, a left slanting one, and it leaves a smaller hole, but it's kind of pretty looking. This one, where I did the left first and then the right, leaves this bar across the increases, which I suppose I could use in a decorative way. And then this one, where I've made no effort and they're both left slanting, they could be both right slanting, doesn't matter, it leaves a bigger hole. Now I do have close-ups of all of these in my blog entry. And I'm going to pause the camera for a minute to work the purl row, and then we'll do the other type of increases. Okay, I'm back, and you can get a better view of what these increases look like. If I'm doing something where the hole is going to be visible, I'm probably going to want to go with this one. That one decorative, but if I'm doing a buttonhole, this one works just fine. In fact, it gives you kind of a buttonhole-y look on the bottom of it, a buttonhole stitch. Now the first type of lifted increase, or sorry, double increase is called a central double increase, and it's a little weird. You knit into the back, you knit into the front, and then do you see this horizontal bar between them? You then knit into that stitch. And what it does is it gives you the original stitch in the center, and it has these two stitches coming off of the side. Let's do that again, because I think it can be a little confusing. Okay, you knit into the back, you knit into the front, and then you find this vertical bar, and you pull it and you knit into the back of it, and it gives you these 3 stitches. I've seen this in lace in some of the Barbara Walker patterns, and it's a little confusing the first time you do it because you're wondering, where the hell is that vertical line? Well, that's where it is. Now the next way, and I've done this one quite a bit, is I do it for thumb gussets, and I've done it in some of my cable patterns where I pick the stitch that I want it to, the increase. I want an increase on this side and an increase on that side. And I do a lifted increase. I lift the leg like I would for a right slanting lifted increase. I knit the next stitch. And if you remember, left slanting increases are kind of confusing because you're using the leg. Now you can't use this leg because I just worked that stitch. I need to go down to the leg in the row before that matches the other one. And there it is. Now it does leave a bit of a hole, but it looks less like sometimes this looks a little bit too much like a noop, unless it's in a lace pattern where you have yarn overs on either side that are going to open it up even more. So I often use this one. Now another way to do the same thing is to pick the stitch that you want to work around. Well, let's say it's this one. I do true M1 ones, and I can do it with a left slanting one first. And if I do that, what do I need to do on the other side of the stitch? Now I knit the stitch. I need to do a right slanting. So I've got my right slanting one. And you can see that the legs of the stitches kind of come in towards that center stitch. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is where I do the right slanting one, then knit the stitch, and then do the left slanting one. And that gives you the appearance where I have the legs of the stitch coming out away from the center stitch. Now I'll have close-ups of these and complete instructions in my blog.